Hello, how's it going? Nice to see you again. This is gonna be my first attempt at doing an AMA, an Ask Me Anything. Close to a month ago, I posted asking if any of you guys had questions. I think I got like 13 comments, and some of the comments have multiple questions, and so that's what I'm gonna be doing right now, just answering some of those questions. For this first iteration of this new thing that I'm gonna be doing, I think on a monthly basis on here, I just wanted this to be as unscripted as possible. If you guys don't like this format and would prefer something else, feel free to let me know and leave a comment about it. But I thought it would be sort of cool to just talk freely and in a less edited way and answer some of your inquiries. I think it might offer some nice contrast from what I usually post on my channel. So let's just dive into it. So I have Patreon open on my phone right now, and Bob Appleby asked me, do I have a set morning and night routine every day? What is it? Is it helpful? So I talked about this a little bit in my day in the life video, but while I do think it's extremely important to maintain positive habits and constructive habits on a daily basis, I'm not super rigid about having like a morning or night routine. What happens for me is that I sort of shift from being kind of more rigid to less rigid, and I'm feeling like right now I need to reinstate just a little bit more structure back into my life. And so what I mean is, like, I think I need to make a little bit more of an effort of being more consistent about, let's say, my morning routine every day. I've gotten a little bit loose about it, and so, you know, it's just a balancing act. That's kind of how I see things. Cam Adair, excuse me if I mispronounce any of your last names or first names for that matter, commented, love to hear your thoughts, your thought process around choosing B-roll for your videos. I like how you use B-roll from your life and travels, and it doesn't always have a specific relevance to the topic, but it's pleasing and enjoyable to watch. Yeah, that's a really good question. By the way, can you guys hear the rain that's dumping outside? It's crazy. That's a really good question. It's something that I've started to think a little bit more about recently as I'm continuing to try to be more intentional, ever more intentional with every video that I create. I feel like B-roll plays two main functions for me. The first role that it plays is the more typical role, which is to kind of visually show what's going on. If I'm talking about, you know, something in particular, generally speaking, it's nice to see that as well to kind of drive home the message, and so that like both the visual and the audio kind of are together and linked. If you don't do that, and if you're showing something that's completely different too often and in too many different situations, it can be confusing for the viewer, right? And obviously you definitely do not want that to happen if you're trying to be as clear as possible with your message. That being said, I also feel like B-roll plays a really important role for me in creating a feeling and taking you somewhere and putting you in a certain place. And increasingly I felt like during my time here in Mexico, Mexico City has become a character in my channel, in this project, at this current stage of where it's at right now. I want you to feel like whenever you watch a video of mine that was filmed and created while I was here in the city, that you feel like you've come and visited me and you've spent some time here in the city, and you get to kind of be here for a little bit. I don't know how to explain it any other way. It's about creating a feeling, and it's also about transmitting what I'm experiencing and what I'm seeing and what I'm going through at this stage of my life. And so there are moments where I'm like, ooh, is this getting too repetitive? But the truth is, this is just where I'm at. And so these are the visuals that represent where I'm at with things. And so it's always a balance for me between the two of those. Carrying out your message and representing things in a very like synchronous way between the things I'm talking about and the things that you're seeing, and then also giving you a feeling and taking you somewhere. And so that's a balance I'm continuing to navigate. But it's really cool. It's something that I've been paying a lot of attention to lately. So, yeah. Bob also asked me, I feel like now that I'm used to taking showers, I'm not really interested in turning back. Do you feel the same way? Honestly, yes. I continue to take cold showers, and taking a hot shower, while it's kind of nice in the moment, what I've noticed is that I feel very cold afterwards. So there's sort of a trade-off, because when I take a cold shower, I think my internal body temperature adapts to it, and so when that's done, I feel warm and kind of more alert and awake afterwards. So I think the benefits really still continue to outweigh the discomfort. Yeah, it is something that I kind of look forward to, even though it's kind of painful, kind of uncomfortable. It's like a nice little boost to every day. And so yeah, I'm sticking with it for right now. We'll see. Jan asked me, in your YT description, you say you're using a 16 to 35 millimeter f1.8 lens. I'd like to know what focal length you usually use and which aperture. And they go on to say that they like the bokeh. I'm really sharp while the background is blurry. So kind of what settings do I use? And honestly, that totally depends. Let me just break this down really quickly. This is gonna be technical for just a few moments here. I'm using the 18 to 35 f1.8 Sigma art lens. And on a Fujifilm, I'm shooting with Fujifilm now, which is an APS-C size sensor camera. There's a 1.5 times crop. Man, this is really technical. So essentially I'm shooting with a 25 to 50 millimeter lens. And I like to shoot wider in different situations, but that means that the background isn't as compressed and so it's not as blurry. So I do change it up. I use kind of that range. So there isn't a specific focal length that I always use, but I'm almost always using this lens for almost everything that I do. And so I'm always in that range of 25 to 50. And I always keep the aperture at f1.8, pretty much, unless, yeah, it's almost always there. That being said, I do like to shoot at 50 millimeters and putting the camera as far back as possible so you still feel like it's kind of a wider shot, but it's more compressed. There's less distortion, yeah. Monica asked me, I'd like to know more about your editing process. What program do you use? Do you film and edit sequentially? What's your favorite and least favorite part of the process? So I did a video breaking down how I created the intro to my first episode of my Going Essentialist series. And I think that might be kind of better addressed in separate videos, but I do plan to share a little bit more about that. Really quick though, I use Premiere Pro to edit all of my videos. And do I edit sequentially? I think for the most part, but I will kind of jump around throughout the piece. It's a very intuitive process, so I might go back into kind of trying to explain how I go about things, but I might not be the best person to explain that sort of thing, honestly. Malik, or Malik, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, I'm sorry, asked me what other things do you enjoy besides filmmaking? And that's a great question because my life isn't just making videos. Currently, I'm doing painting classes. I talked a little bit about it on my channel. I really, really enjoy that because something about the painting process allows me to shut my mind off from the things that I'm almost always worrying about and just focus on a different form of creation. It's interesting because it's just a totally different experience. I really enjoy creating, but I don't have the expectations. There's no monetary influence on when I'm painting because I'm not doing it to make money or make a living. And so it's a really interesting, unique experience for me, and I really enjoy that. I also just started taking some Italian classes because I'm going to be moving to Italy in September. I'm going to talk a little bit more about my future travel plans in a separate update video that's coming really soon. But yeah, that is something I just really, really enjoy. I'm just doing like 20 hours worth of classes. I love learning. I love being able to ask questions about things that I'm confused about, and it's just stimulating for me on an intellectual level. I also love to be able to see my own progress, you know, the feeling that, oh, it's getting easier to create sentences. So I know I sound like the biggest nerd of all time, but yeah, I really enjoy doing that also in my free time. Other things I really enjoy are running. I don't know if that's kind of like, if that counts as a hobby because it's exercise, but I really enjoy running. A lot of the things I like to do, I incorporate into my videos. So listening to books, meditating, you know, that kind of thing. And I'd love to explore music production in the nearest future. So we'll see, I don't know. Depends on the time that I've got. Francesca asked me, would you rather be lucky or talented? And that's a really interesting question because those are two really strong words that I actually try to avoid in general. Luck, I think we have this idea about luck based on a very limited view of things. There's so much that is outside of our control. I can't explain why I was born to the parents that I was born to, why I was born in the US, you know, all these things that have had enormous influences on my life. I kind of like the word fortunate a little bit more, but it's the same concept, right? So that's sort of my perspective on luck. And then talent is another complicated one to break down because I recently read this book, Bounce, by Matthew Syed, and the author really debunked this idea of talent within the book, talking about how all top performers put in the time in a very intentional way. Even children that seem to have extraordinary talent have put in crazy amounts of time already into honing their craft, and are almost always also born into situations that permit them to do that. So with that being said, I would lean more towards the idea of talent, but within the kind of context of sort of redefining that term, which is not that it's something that you're born with, but something that you work and develop and create in your life. Mehdi asked me, what's your life goal? How would you like for your life to turn into? Be a nomad content creator or settle down? I'd actually prefer to maybe not talk about my life goal right now. I do have one. I actually have two, but I'm not gonna kind of go into the details right now, but I will say that for the kind of medium term, I do plan on being sort of a digital nomad, whatever that even means, and spending time, several months at a time in different countries around the world, absorbing the culture and filming it and sharing my experiences and, you know, taking advantage of this stage of my life. I don't even have a girlfriend right now, you know, so there's like there's nothing really stopping me. I don't have a house, I don't have a car, I don't have pets. And so I fully plan to take advantage of that. I don't see myself continuing this forever. So eventually I do believe I'll pick a spot to maybe settle down longer term. Spain is a country that I have really enjoyed, not just visiting, but imagining myself staying for longer. So I don't know, that might be something that happens at some point down the road. So Oscar asked me in Spanish, he asked me about delinquency in Mexico City and how I kind of handle that with regards to filming when I'm going around town. That's a really good question. What I'll say is that I definitely do my best to stay in nicer parts of town. That's kind of an unfortunate truth, but I really don't want to put myself in unnecessary danger. Any big city is going to be dangerous, and there's going to be dangerous parts, so you got to be smart about it. I always try to keep a low profile, and by that I mean my cameras really are not that big. I don't wear flashy clothing. I like to wear dark clothing, and I don't like to wear jewelry. This watch was $25, and everybody asked me about it, but it's something I can beat up and something I could lose or destroy and not feel bad about. Yeah, I think it's also like kind of an intuition that you build up over time if you travel a lot. Elena asked me if I struggle finding people I feel deeply connected with. Yeah, so I talked a little bit about that in my video for introverts, but it is a struggle for me. But a recent revelation or realization that I've had, a mini one, in the last few weeks is that I can't just get hung up on it and, you know, buy into the drama about that. Yes, it's challenging to find the right people, but that's okay. Like even small, fleeting interactions with people can have a lot of depth to them. Yeah, you know, I think there was a part of me that felt very like kind of down and upset about not being able to find the right people. But that in itself is a way of closing yourself off. So it is a struggle, but it's something that, you know, you can't rush or change. And I'm just gonna continue to focus on myself and not closing myself off too much from other people. Okay, Jan asked me, could I name a list of creators who also create meaningful, deep content like me? There are a few that I watch, but I can't name any off the top of my head right now, so I'll probably include it in the description of this piece. And Fride, I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry, asked me if I play any musical instruments, and currently no. I played piano as a child. I then played electric bass for a few years, and then for a short while, I could play a few songs on a ukulele because that's super easy. But no, I don't play any instruments right now. Although I will say I'm interested in music creation, music production. All right, so that covers all the questions I received. Really appreciate all of your interest. I hope this was interesting and insightful. I'm gonna do this, like I said, on a monthly basis. So if you have more questions that have come up from recent pieces that I've created or anything else along those lines, I'll be posting another kind of post on Patreon so that you can ask those questions. I might also kind of create themes or a topic that I want to focus on. So we'll see. This is going to be evolving, but once again, I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate all of your interest, and I hope you enjoyed this. All right, see you soon.